U.S. intelligence agency mind control.
Tapper.
Fucking fake Tapper,
yeah.
fake ass journalist, Jake Tapper.
After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through.
What?
Very few.
Oh my God.
On
Sir,
January 6th,
the
we were
question
energy
is,
independent.
what would
On
you
January
say
6th,
to
we had the lowest
voters who
taxes
think
ever. We had the
this?
lowest regulation.
They call these people fucking moderators. Moderators.
We need the Colorado guys in here. This is
We need the
fucking
Colorado
pathetic.
guy.
Honestly, you
We
know
should start a
who's
petition.
losing this debate? CNN.
Yes.
CNN,
Mhm.
pathetic. Pathetic. Fucking
Absolutely
the
pathetic.
Fox News Republican primary debates put you to fucking shame, and they were fucking chaos.
Yep. Newsmax did a better job, and they were awful.
Pathetic.
Like,
Easily,
you are the
easily
reason.
the worst debate moderation of
Yeah.
any presidential debate I've ever seen.
Like, CNN, we just have to acknowledge that CNN is the reason journalism is in the state that it's in.
It is. That is true. That is true because of that fucking plane.
Just so we're clear here.
Ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world.
No, we weren't.
All over the world, we were respected.
Nope.
No.
And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like
No,
a bunch of
that's
stupid
also not
people.
true.
What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership?
Okay, the question was about
is
January
horrible,
6th.
including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him
Is that like black bagging people at protests?
fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you
Thank you.
stand
Thank
for
you
those
for
voters who
saying he
believe
didn't
that you
answer the question
violated
for
the
once, fake.
constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the
Oh, now
news
you
from
remember
2
it
years
wasn't
ago,
Nikki Haley,
on
huh?
tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say.
Filmmaker.
saying,
Filmmaker.
oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day.
You want to fact check this? What actually was the offer?
Happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up to the Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something.
Trump is fuming because he knows this is all true. You see how he's reacting to Biden saying this?
No, I'm looking something out. Hold on. I don't want to say it though.
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up to the Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots. And
Wait. He's saying that like this was inside the Oval Office.
Yeah, this is
He
true.
was there?
This is true. No. So it's a little confusing because he said I sat in that dining room, as in he's actually been to the dining room in the Oval Office, off the Oval Office. He's like I sat in that dining room, which was irrelevant.
I got you.
And then he said he sat there for 3 hours.
letting it happen. While
Yeah,
vice-
maybe
while
the chairs are
Biden-
really uncomfortable, and that's why he's like, "It's crazy. I can't sit there for more than an hour," you know. But he was sitting there watching Fox News, and people, it's all documented that people were asking him to stop,
to do something.
do
Yeah,
something.
wild.
That's why Trump is
And
fuming about this, because he knows it's true.
Yeah.
He knows it's true, and January 6th is actually like, I actually don't want January 6th questions because I don't think it matters, because
No,
it's not something that's swinging voters, period.
no,
And because I think most people can see it wasn't that big of a deal. I think, as far as like institutional, as if you fucking put the government on that shining hill, right?
Yep.
Maybe January 6th matters to you, but all I saw was the Democrats comparing it to fucking 9/11, where 3,000 innocent people died, compared to one fascist and two cops.
Yeah.
Wow. Started a war, changed the world. Imagine the era we would be in if it wasn't for Osama bin Laden. Like Clinton's admin gave everything to Bush. Everything. Bush would have been a great president if it wasn't for 9/11.
You reckon?
Not fantastic, but like, how could he really fuck things up besides going into a war like that? Like, what would he do? What would the Bush admin actually do? You know what they'd probably do? They'd probably overthrow Iran anyway, and do the Iraq war anyway, at least in the second term. Because I know from the start they were talking about Iran. But the reason, you know why they didn't go to war with Iran during that time and instead went to Iraq?
No.
Because Iran backed the Northern Alliance, which is who we end up backing in Afghanistan.
Interesting.
Now,
Okay.
ask yourself, if you're going into a war, wouldn't you want to question, like, oh, these guys are protecting the guy who's accused of organizing the attack, okay? And these guys over here are backed by Iran and Russia. We're going to side with the Iran and Russia side instead of actually doing critical thinking.
Okay, interesting. So it says the Associated Press previously reported Trump was not involved in decision making related to the National Guard on Jan 6, and Pelosi did not stand in their way. Trump did say during a 30-second call on January 5th with the acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller, that they were going to need 10,000 troops on Jan 6, according to a statement he provided to the House Committee in 21. Miller added that there was no elaboration, and he took the comment to mean a large force would be required to maintain order the following day. He noted that domestic law enforcement believed they had sufficient personnel. There's no evidence that Trump actually signed any order requesting 10,000 National Guards, let alone 20,000 for
Or
January.
that he talked to Nancy Pelosi personally and offered her 10,000 troops. Okay.
Yep.
So I'd say there is some truth to what Trump says there, which is unusual because normally there's zero truth to what he says. So
not necessarily.
Hang on, let me finish the joke. So in my book, that is a Trump fact true.
In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Nice.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
So that's one of the
they've
things
done
that
to
people
some
said is
people
that
that are
Biden
so-
should purposely antagonize him, right? And that was like only doing that. Like all his things should be attacks on Trump. And people are like, I don't think that's the best idea. But he's called him a whiner, a loser, and what was the other thing he said? Because he did it with the loser before.
It was a sucker.
Oh, so,
You're a sucker and you're a loser.
oh
was
yeah,
what he
yeah,
said.
about the troops. Yes.
Yes,
So
yeah.
so that's 3 insults directly. And notice how Trump constantly is insulting, but we don't even process it.
Yeah, because it's just basic Trump speak.
innocent.
I kind of agree, though. I think it should be like not entirely antagonistic, but like policy antagonism.
Yeah,
Or
I think
policy antagonism.
the attacks he has dropped have been effective and well placed,
Yes.
especially the losers one because it came after an
Mhm.
emotional statement.
Yes.
But
yes.
Trump's whole response to it did largely negate how severe the attack was,
Mhm.
where he's like 16 people this didn't blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people when they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities. You
Yeah,
go to Minnesota,
and you had him
Minneapolis,
arrested,
what
and
they've
then
done there
there was no
with the
crimes to be
fires all over
charged.
the city. If I didn't bring
That
in the
was
National
you.
Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you
And
look
did
at
you
all
punish
of the-
them?
They took
tried
over
to.
big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is
Yeah, I'm
so
sure.
off. Peacefully patriotic.
Has
One
nothing to
other
do with it
thing,
being Seattle,
the
where
unselect
riots
committee,
famously
which is
happen all the time.
basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that,
Information
they'd go
on
to
Thank
what?
you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at.
Yes.
Yes.
And the fact
got
of the
it.
matter is,
Even Trump's like,
he's-
oh yeah, that's
he's-
true.
what he's telling you
Trump
is
wasn't even
true.
mad about it. He
fact
nodded.
is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people,
It's
every
like,
one of those who were
you
convicted,
got
No,
me.
but what is he
should be
talking about? The
convicted.
deleted information.
I don't know. I don't know
I
what
think
he's
so.
talking
Like
about.
I think he had. Is he talking about that he had investigations done on protesters, and they had to delete it because it wasn't legal or something?
Scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And and now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that
what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing,
They might do fact checking
the
after.
unselect committee, which is basically two horrible.
I think they said that they're doing fact checking on the website live.
Okay, there you go.
It
Great.
still doesn't negate the fact that they're not moderating the fucking debate.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right.
About
We
what?
were right. And they
What do you-
deleted.
What is
and
he
destroyed
talking
all of
about?
the information. They
Do we need? We
they
have to go
heard
back
that,
again
They saw
to
them
try.
coming and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the unselect committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now.
He's
out of
talking about Liz
office,
Cheney.
and Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found.
What
Wait,
information?
so no, he's not talking about the protests.
no,
He's not talking about protests. He's
select
now
committee.
talking about January 6th again. He's talking about Liz Cheney's committee, right? And they
Ah.
said he's saying they deleted all the information because they found out we were right.
Okay.
Right about what? That the election was stolen? Because that's not true. They definitely didn't find that out. Like, what are you right about? I don't understand what he's even fucking talking about. The fact we didn't have to do any of this when any of Biden's things, and Biden is way less coherent. I was able to be like, no, this is what he means with
Yeah.
Belarus. I knew exactly where the pathway was going.
Mm,
What is he talking about? I have no fucking clue.
No
what
idea.
information was deleted and what were you right about?
We were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican
I'm fine
did
with
that,
Liz
they'd
Cheney
go to
going
Thank you,
to jail,
President
though.
Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is,
I love how he looks
he's-
over at him
he's-
to
what he's
say
telling
it.
you
And then
simply
Trump
not
can't
true.
even continue the
Fact
eye
is that
contact.
there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over stuff.
But when cities burned, when cities
that those
burned,
people are patriots. Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, the debates we had first time around, I said, "Will you
he almost said
denounce
last
the
year.
Proud Boys?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "No, I'll tell them to stand by." The idea he's refusing to, will you denounce these guys? You denounce the people we're talking about now? You denounce the people?
He fucked up the quote there. It was stand down and stand
Yeah,
by.
no. He purposely fucked it up because he wanted it to be more inflammatory.
Mm.
And
Tack
Trump's
that
going to
back
focus
up.
on how he didn't. So this is actually tactical, okay? This is a prepped point. And the reason why they've prepped for it, okay, is because Trump is going to laser focus on something he said.
Mm.
So he's going to focus that he told them to stand down.
Okay,
When it's all
interesting.
so instead of him saying stand down and stand by, which would have been less triggering for Trump, editing the quote to make it seem more inflammatory is going to get Trump to laser focus on how he didn't tell the Proud Boys to stand down.
Okay.
Let's see if I'm right.
We'll see. That's interesting.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for
Good.
a follow-up
That's moderation,
question
I
have.
guess, huh?
After a jury
Sure.
convicted you of 34
Moderated
felonies
discretion.
last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the select committee on January 6th going to jail.
It might not even
Your
be
main
challenged
political opponent
because
is standing
Jake
on stage
Tapper
with you
moderated
tonight.
and went
Can
to
you
a new
clarify
topic.
exactly what it means about
So
you
Trump
saying you have every
or
right
he
to
got
go
away
after
with
your
just
political
saying that.
opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My
No, it's not.
retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted.
So?
Going to be convicted probably numerous
He
other
nodded,
times.
yeah,
Should have
and
been convicted before, but his Justice Department.
That's all he needs
step-
to say. He just needs to come back with, yeah.
honestly, Destiny could do better than CNN.
Yeah.
I don't know about this name and flag here, but you know,
statute of limitations
Indigenous
lapse on the most
Is
important
this the
things.
Italian
But
flag?
he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of
Is this
office. Joe could be
Mussolini?
a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that
A soldier
you
in
want
the
$1 billion
bunker.
or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that,
$1 billion.
that's quid pro quo.
At least
But
it's a
we're
real
not gonna
person
do
and not just a MAGA bot.
So you think?
Thing. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting.
United
I did
Farm
nothing wrong.
Workers, but
Thank you,
Mexican.
President Trump.
I thought it
President
was a
Buck-
Mexican flag, and I figured
Hmm.
because of the indigenous thing. But it's so
Yeah.
hard to see because on my monitor things are so
Based as
small.
fuck.
And you have said
It's
I'm coming
just
right
it's
to you,
only
sir.
because Mussolini was a syndicalist is why I said it.
Well, you want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie.
Angry
number one.
Biden.
Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution
Grr.
against any American just
Grr.
because you're president
You're
is
angry,
wrong.
Biden.
It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three,
Well, I'm
the
different.
crimes that you are still charged with. And think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having
Look
sex
at him.
with a
He's
porn star
nodding yes.
while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about?
He's like, yeah, that's a good
You really
point.
demand from
Like,
me.
come on, bro. What are you doing?
I
We
didn't
can
have sex
see
with a porn
you.
star.
That's awesome.
He must not know
Number
it's a
one.
two-shot.
Number two, that was
That's
like, come on.
so
That's
funny.
got to be the
And
only
moved-
reason
and
he's
moved-
literally being like, yeah, he's right.
A high-ranking official at DOJ into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought
Basically.
it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took
Poll
in more
numbers.
money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden,
Okay.
you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting
question.
against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's
Interesting.
done.
That's an
And he's a lot
interesting
more prudent.
response
He's
that
got a
will
lot
be
of
easily
cases
twisted.
Yes.
He's basically saying if you're politically educated and aware about what he's done, then you're actively choosing to,
Yes.
which is true.
on the road coming
It
around.
is true.
It's
objectively true.
A whole range of
Which is why, like, we are like, oh, that's a good answer, right? But the Dunning-Kruger effect exists.
hmm
And there will be people who will be like, hey, who's talking about me? I know a lot. I watched him pull.
issues. Yes,
And
because
also,
I don't know
when
what the
we
juries will
talk
do.
to those people, they don't think America is a democracy
Yes.
anyway. So they like it anyway. They try to they have this weird contradiction where they exist in, and they can't like actually like come to actual conclusions in their head. You're so cute. Anyway, so they get into these contradictions where they can't like complete their own pathways to these things.
Yes. It's cognitive dissonance.
Mhm.
Literal hard cognitive dissonance.
Mhm.
It's crazy. The unreality sort of the
Well, it's
space
also
you have to
we
exist in
as
is
we've watched,
insane.
it's been programmed to be like we're a republic, not a democracy, because
Mm.
Ben Franklin said to a two-part question on if it's a republic or a democracy. He said a
Yes.
republic if you can keep it, but we leave out the context that it was a two-answer question when he said that, and
Yes.
try to make that our sole statement on why America isn't a democracy. But what I was thinking when Fake Tapper asked the question where he said American democracy. Okay, so in these people's minds, how do you swap that word out? American democracy. Is American democracy on the line? And are they going to say we're not in a democracy? They believe that and they like
Yeah.
it. So of course they're going to vote against democracy.
But these are like the Romans type of people. People who think about Rome a lot. And they're like, Rome was a republic. So America's a republic. It's like Rome.
I don't think they think about much or know what Rome is.
But I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? You ever hear any presidents say
Good
thought
point to
Hitler
bring
had some
up.
good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang.
This is such a
when-
good thing to
back in
just
Germany.
immediately
And
go
looked at
into
the
is
young
bring up
woman who
Charlottesville as
spoke to the
well.
mother. And
Because
they asked him, they
I've
said,
heard
what do you
from
think of those
actual
people?
moderates,
People who-
right?
Yeah.
And as we've discussed in the show before, moderate is a specific type of Republican, everyone. It's only a word that exists in America. There is no right and left wing. Anyway, so moderates have told me that the reason why they have like reconsidered a lot of their positions was because of Charlottesville. So so people who are true moderates, like a lot of them, even libertarians, were able to be pulled into the radical fascist realm, right?
Yeah.
But then other people saw Charlottesville and correctly came to the conclusion, this is a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And then the last time he asked him this, he followed it up with the Proud Boys and said, denounce the Proud Boys. Because he's like, what groups haven't I denounced? So
That's actually funny you mentioned that, because I would probably say that that was around the time I sort of stepped back from that side of stuff as well.
Charlottesville?
Yeah. Because there was a bunch of people who were like, at the time, if I'm remembering correctly, were less critical of it. And I'm like, that's weird, bro. What happened was weird. Why are you not criticizing it?
I think the
And so-
only appropriate thing to downplay is that they couldn't make their own torches and bought fucking tiki torches from Home Depot. I think that's the only thing that could be considered downplaying that's like okay to say.
Yeah, because it's
But
like
to start
mocking
painting it like they
Hang Time.
weren't real fascist because they couldn't make their own torches.
Yeah, is disingenuous. Surely.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine people on both sides.
Yes. Never let
What
this go.
American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same
I know.
style, carrying swastikas.
Wilson
Fine people.
would say it.
This is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president. The worst presidency.
Bro, how do you start doing this when it's talking about the fucking fascist and comparing you to fucking Hitler?
Jesus
Being compared to
Christ.
Hitler is like the easiest layup you can get.
Yeah. And he still fucked it up. I mean, maybe he likes the comparison.
He can't answer the question about democracy because he can't fucking sell the point that we're not a democracy. Because that's what he wants to say. Is that fucking dumbass line.
Having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out.
Okay, here's your fact-checking time,
debunked.
fake tapper.
It's
Go ahead.
Nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
PBS changed their thumbnail. It's more like ours, but ours is better.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking.
Okay.
Excuse me. They didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
You see how he even thought about it? You see how he even thought about it? Being like, how should I say this when I endorse the Nazis?
Yes.
He even thought about it and still said it. That's worse. I forgot there's that pause there where he literally looks up, as in he's clearly in his own head making coherent thought before dropping that. It wasn't just a slip of the tongue. That was coherent thinking when he endorsed those Nazis just now.
Yep.
He said they're fine. You know, just because they're Nazis, they're not bad people.
Saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. No, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down?
This is a logical fallacy.
I'm pro tearing down George Washington stuff.
I am as well.
Because fuck George Washington.
I'm pro tearing down monuments and statues of people. So
Lincoln can stay in his chair, though.
Just because it's cool.
Yeah, the Washington Monument is fine because that's more about the people who died in the war than it is him. But Lincoln can stay in his chair. Everyone else, you're out of here. Mount Rushmore, gone.
Just wanted to clear that up for everybody.
What if
just
we get
so
Plaster of Paris and start doing that on Mount Rushmore? Just to build it back up with plasters of Paris.
About all this being fabricated. We saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people.
And how they were also fascist?
His own vice president.
Some were in Charlottesville?
40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
This is a
Thank you,
good
President
point.
Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Yeah, nice one, dickhead. You really let him defend himself defending Nazis,
Bro,
right?
he literally
bro.
didn't pull back on any of his Nazi rhetoric, though. That's outstanding that just
Yeah.
fucking happened. And
Crazy.
nobody is gonna even think critically enough just watching this with some other streamers, you know, as they make their fucking
see.
bingo cards.
Yeah.
Now, I want to see how many people are able to make the observation that we've made about all that Nazi shit that just happened in what, the last like 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Make
That'll
a-
be-
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?